Hi everyone, my name is Eric Schurter and I'm the product manager for the Static Site Editor group, which is part of the create stage of the DevOps lifecycle here at GitLab. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what we have planned for the 13.2 milestone. For 13.2, we're iterating on a couple features that we shipped in 13.1, and we're doing that with a particular focus on integrating the Static Site Editor with the GitLab handbook, which is a statically generated site running middleman as the static site generator. And this is really important for us because it's a great opportunity for us to use the feature every day, to expand the audience to all of the GitLab team members that are contributing to the handbook every day, as well as everybody else in the greater community that is reviewing and editing and suggesting edits to the handbook. So we're very excited here. There's a little bit of work to be done. And so first thing we're going to do is iterate on an issue that we were working on in 13.1. We defined an architecture and started work on this, but we're going to bring it home in 13.2. And that's the ability to display non-markdown content in the WYSIWYG mode of the static site editor. It's easier to explain than it is to read, so I'll show you what's going on here. In the markdown mode of the static site editor here, I have some cram down syntax, which is an extension of markdown that allows me to identify the preceding paragraph and include a class. So this class would be applied to the rendered output. Our WYSIWYG editor, what you see is what you get editor, has no idea what to do with that because it's not regular markdown syntax, so it just thinks it's text. There's a lot of examples of this, and in the handbook we use a lot of extensions and even some inline Ruby code to build the pages. So it's very important that we have an approach to this for before we can make this available in the handbook. So we're going to be working through that and bringing that across the finish line in 13.2. And what we'll end up with is the ability to, in the WYSIWYG editor, show that this content is part of the page, but it just won't be editable. It'll be kind of set aside and grayed out in a box so that you know it's there, and if you want to edit it, you can switch back into the raw source mode, the markdown editor view here. So the next thing we're iterating on, in 13.1 we added the ability to upload an image, insert an image using a direct URL, and in 13.2 we're going to extend that and allow you to upload an image directly. So what that looks like here is right now in the WYSIWYG editor, I can go and insert an image using a direct URL and provide an alternate description and insert it there. But that requires your image to be hosted already, either on a CDN or on another site or within your project directory already. You need a URL. So in 13.2, we're going to add an ability in this modal to upload an image from your computer. Pretty simple, but very powerful workflow that we're enabling there. And as I mentioned, our major effort this release is to configure the GitLab handbook to use a static site editor. As I mentioned, there's a little more complexity there than the static site editor is currently configured to support. For example, a lot of the pages have the extension .html, .md, .erb, so they have embedded Ruby code, or at least have the ability to parse embedded Ruby code. This is a convention of middleman, and the static site editor currently doesn't support those types of pages. We'll need to include support for those pages so that we can edit the handbook using the static site editor. Once we do that and configure the project, we'll be adding it to the product pages in a more visible way. So when you go to GitLab, about.gitlab.com/handbook/product, and any of the pages underneath that directory, we will be surfacing a link to edit the content in the static site editor. The reason we're not making it available to all handbook pages is because we're trying to roll this out slowly and make sure all the pages are compatible. And to put our best foot forward, we've also prioritized a few UX changes to the static site editor and to the handbook. A few of them are here in this epic, and they're all linked in our planning issue, but specifically we just want to make sure we clean up some of the styling of that markdown view. Here you can see when I switch to markdown, we're kind of incorrectly styling. We want to make this look a little more like code, so we're going to use a monospace font and maybe a consistent font size. We're going to tweak the success screen once you're done submitting changes to make it a little more clear what's going on. And then on the handbook side, we're going to be working on making sure that there's a very obvious and very prominent place for the static site editor to live, for the action to launch the static site editor, and along with some other UX improvements to the handbook pages themselves. And that's it. So the planning issues linked in the video description. So feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions or comments about what we're working on, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks.